Now, one of the most incendiary topics blazing across the internet lately centers around one individual, a comedian by the name of Akaash, and the rather revealing comments his own wife unleashed about their life and marriage. I'm certain a vast number of you are acquainted with the podcast starring Andrew Schulz and Akaash himself. And as far as digital media goes, comedy podcasts are hardly my preferred genre. I've been exposed to some of the legendary clips. It's not like I'm completely unaware I recall him hanging out with Rogan. He drops off a car, valued at $100,000, and then he picks it up. It's worth $100,000, all right. Just so you're aware, this man as a comedian actually possesses a sliver of humor. I initially thought he was like Lil Xan's long-lost brother or something of that nature, but that assessment is fundamentally flawed. In reality, they share two distinct commonalities. First, they're both utterly incapable of accepting any constructive criticism regarding their comedy. I attempt to endure it throughout the performance, but when my own set is concluded and I witness him doing this, it becomes unbearable. Your left hand holds more intrigue than whatever it is we are attempting to accomplish here for an entire hour. The second similarity, they both supposedly remained inexperienced well into their 30s. I'm certain I could manage it. But I suppose I don't project the kind of aura that has women whispering. I absolutely have to be with that man. In fact, it's painfully apparent that during his formative years, and even deep into his adult life, this individual possessed zero confidence and never once captured the attention of any woman. So in high school, the excuse was that you claimed you weren't good looking, and following that period, it was atrocious. All right, you're not an unattractive man. Hey, you never laid eyes on me in high school. What was the issue? The crooked teeth. I looked like a chipmunk, my friend. And I suspect this is precisely how he devolved into a human doormat. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, because the hilarious part is, the seeds for this domestic implosion were planted years ago when Myron and Frogger from Fresh and Fit appeared on a rival podcast, and it was made painfully obvious that Akaash was not a fan of theirs in the slightest. The way I see it is, you know when you see them getting it on. You're witnessing a phase of evolution from Neanderthal to Homo sapiens. You guys are the first lowlifes to crawl out of the Neanderthal cave. And ever since that fateful interaction, the two sides have been feuding for years. And by extension, the two podcasts in general have been at each other's throats. And initially, I'd say it was a pretty evenly matched fight. Each had their own respectable fan base defending their guys. But that was then. More recently, Myron has been publicly humiliating Akaash online. And this entire takedown was made possible thanks to Akaash's own wife. Akaash's wife, Jasin, is the one who single-handedly supplied Myron with all the ammunition in the world. Here's how. Akaash made the colossal mistake of trying to appear flawless. And every single time he opened his mouth about his wife, Jasin, he would paint her as this beautiful, desirable, yet completely innocent woman, almost to the point of being naive. And on more than one occasion, he paraded this story about how they lost their V-cards to one another when his wife was in her early 20s. Well, I believe he was in his late 30s. My wife also had 0 sexual partners, so that helped us connect on a deeper level. Let me ask you this, I believe him. But if you've ever actually seen her, you'd know that story is a very tough pill to swallow. I remember it was almost as if, what I'm trying to say is that it felt like the man was propping up a superiority complex over this little V-card tidbit, when in reality, he was just giving off major Steve Carell vibes, and it was clear that even with his new success, he was still incredibly insecure about his teenage years. But nevertheless, Akaash remained fairly respected for many years, and the real problems only truly ignited when his wife finally spoke out, and in the beginning, it all centers on the red pill community, and specifically the clowns at Fresh and Fit. Because my husband actually interviewed these guys. He had these so-called alpha males on his podcast once, and I won't even say their names, because honestly, who even cares? But it was absolutely priceless, because he just relentlessly called them out on their garbage. He exposed their empty and ludicrous ideology, and the lie that they're somehow helping men, when in reality, the poison they're peddling is incredibly destructive, especially to the young, impressionable guys they target. And because he challenged them, their rabid fan base went on the attack, eventually digging up photos of the two of us. And because I'm objectively speaking an attractive woman, they immediately decided there's no way we could possibly be together. Not through any natural means, like people actually meeting and falling in love. No, it absolutely had to be some kind of arranged marriage. Now, the most glaringly ironic part of this whole pathetic saga is that she herself pivoted to become the female version of Fresh and Fit, championing the twisted idea. The women must be constantly treated like spoiled brats, demanding that their every single whim be fulfilled by their husbands. It really seems the only thing she actually knows how to do is sit around the house and bleed his bank account dry. Just listen to this. Here's how she actually describes herself. For those of you who are new here, hi, my name is Jasin. I'm a stay-at-home wife, but I don't cook or clean because I don't enjoy it. And my husband is a full-time stand-up comedian, and he buys me lots of nice things. And believe me when I say the clips are about to get so much more depraved. You know it's like leveling up from a minor inconvenience to a full-blown catastrophe, because she truly presents herself as the ultimate entitled gold digger. When it comes to finances, how do you and your husband split the finances? We don't do that. If you want to work, it's all for that. But like any man who refuses to entertain a joint bank account or isn't transparent with his finances, it's a massive red flag. His money is our money, and my money is my money. Yeah, that's a very easy thing to say when you have no income. That's actually number one for me. They have to be generous with their finances from day one. Oh, I love my wife. I love my wife. Let's go for a bike ride with my wife. And the best part is living with your best friend, who also happens to buy you designer things. My wife is beautiful. Objectively, I'm not. So that's what you have to do. I have to work my tail off. And then whenever she starts looking at me, when she starts to judge my beauty, I just throw a bag in her direction. It's a game of chess. Checkmate. And just observe her reaction when Akaash springs a new wedding ring on her recently. First and foremost, I want to wish you a happy birthday. All of this was made possible because you told me I could do anything that I wanted. He also reveals that now he wants to renew their vows in India in front of their families. And just notice what her primary focus becomes in this clip. Nope. It's the annoying Disney music playing on the PA system. Are you going to be singing like Disney forever yet? Oh my god. Oh my god, how big is this thing? Thank you so much. What were you saying? Now you're sitting in his lap. Clearly she is not moved by this rededication of their love. Hell, she even dodges the poor sap's kiss. Marriage is so much better for the woman. It literally begins with a man on one knee begging you. But is that enough? No. You also get a very beautiful piece of jewelry. 3 salaries. That's what he told me. 3 on her finger. And I know for a fact, she is exactly the type of woman who would choose a blood diamond over a lab-grown one, purely for the optics of it all. She needs that perceived superiority. You understand. She wants to feel the weight of conflict on her finger, and Akaash makes another truly fatal mistake right here by empowering her with a platform, TikTok and podcasting. Who was your first boyfriend? She's now the one asking the questions. For her, this was the absolute beginning of the end, as she was about to start oversharing at a breakneck pace. Sometimes I just get so nostalgic for college. The top 4 songs when I went back for my sophomore year: Click Pop Bands, Bands Make Her Dance. Birthday Cake, 2 Chainz. I was out there getting wild, and just living my best life in these white boy fraternity houses. And I had a whole roster of guys I would be swapping out. So it was like... And it's just hilarious, because Akaash parades around, as if he discovered this diamond in the rough acting, as though she were some pristine angel sent down from the heavens, when it turns out she was the exact opposite. I was getting down in these white boy frat houses. I met this one guy on Tinder. This was way before Bumble or Hinge. This was back in the stone age of dating apps. I made the idiotic mistake of letting him stay over, even though I had no intention of anything happening. And I wake up the next morning and my backside is a little sore. Oh my god. And I have to say, for someone who has been out of college for years, she certainly spends a lot of time reliving it. And strangely, the vast majority of her memories revolve around partying and other men. So please help me understand. For all my brown girls who are about to start college, you actually don't have to date the first man who gives you attention. When I got to college, I was like, oh my goodness, it's like open season all of a sudden, with all these guys starting to give me attention and everyone acting so social now. But the point where everything truly exploded for Neon's dad was when his wife finally opened her mouth about his best friend, the husband of podcast host Nov. And at first, I genuinely thought she was talking about the well-known rapper. You know, the heavyset one. But no. She was describing her physical encounters with this man in a way I've never heard from any woman. At least not any married woman I've ever seen. Are you people ever actually with your husbands, Aria? I'm out here trying my hardest just to find a partner. Or is it just because this partner is so unbelievably handsome? You might have never seen Nav, but just wait until you lay eyes on him. His body's absolutely insane. His face is always charming and he just never seems to have an off day. It's all a little bizarre, especially since I'm talking about your husband. I just know that Penny Schnapp is packing at least 10 inches. Now for me, any of these statements would be grounds for an immediate divorce. And I am absolutely not joking. I'm being dead serious. I've never once sat down with one of my friends and said, "Damn, bro. Your girlfriend's backside is incredible," or "she has a fantastic chest," or anything remotely like that. It's so outrageously disrespectful that I would fully expect one of my boys to knock some sense into me for it. And of course, on the flip side of this disaster, we have their whole living situation complex. And I quote, "Minav, Nahul, and Akaash are going to live in 2 houses right next door to each other. That way we can always be close to one another. We're going to build a connecting basement where we have dinner and do our business." Akaash is just so wonderful, as everyone knows. He is simply the very best husband. And I rarely find a man who can match him, and it's like Nav is his complete and total equal. In fact, even more so. But for Akaash, this is where the situation becomes the absolute worst, because he's willing to be played for a viewership of less than 1,000 subscribers. And the most hysterical part to me is that he shows up on the couch, alongside the other husband, Nav. And I was picturing him to be some rugged, tough, classically handsome man. And what's quite telling is he's literally Akaash 2.0. He's like the cooler, more sophisticated older brother, or something along those lines. The body language, the whole vibe, it's all there. And initially, they were just serving up their domestic life and manufactured drama, centering on their finances. But he's basically saying, When I tell my wife that I'm exhausted, I want her to say, quote, "I'm sorry, honey. I get it. It must be tiring buying me all this stuff." End quote. But instead she just fires back with, "Me too." And if he ever dared to open his mouth and ask what she did to be so tired, he'd be met with a cold shoulder. That was the unspoken rule. But now that they're both creating content, they're just saying the quiet part out loud. If it's funny, then they're okay. That was clearly his wife trying to land a joke and watching everyone react to it. Because the very idea that his wife would start earning significant money, that she would be bringing in a big income. No, the very notion that she would even go to a bank to try and open her own account was treated as absolutely ridiculous, but it quickly became undeniable that a supposedly devoted wife couldn't handle herself when surrounded by that man's unsettling aura. But then she says, "I really love you and want all of you." I mean, just witness the eye contact between them and how incredibly awkward Akaash becomes. I mean, she legitimately almost slips up and flat out says that she wants to get with this guy. "Can I just say this is the best husband I've ever seen?" She gushes, and she isn't even exaggerating. It's frankly nauseating. And beyond the flagrant emotional cheating she's showing, that she is the most unappreciative wife to this man, and in fact, she doesn't even want to celebrate her own birthday by spending her own funds. Here's to Akaash's 4th birthday with you, and to many more years to come. I dread that day, because I'm forced to be pleasant for the entire day, and I'm expected to give him a gift, you hear me? I'm just so accustomed to being treated like absolute royalty all day, every single day. So for just one day, I'm not the center of attention. Oh, the absolute torture of it all. And predictably, she faced a massive wave of backlash for this. I mean, even the most staunch feminists out there were chiming in like, "Please don't make me have to defend a man." Obviously men. The internet was collectively roasting them, and this was their brilliant tone-deaf response to all the heat they were getting. But she said, and I quote, "Our haters are actually stupid, because by hating on us, I gained 15,000 followers. Those are organic followers, so you're just giving us more relevance. We're literally becoming a pop culture topic, and people can't stop talking about it. Yes, the classic delusion your haters will actually make you famous. I'm quite certain they aren't just idly watching the house burn down from a distance. And I get the feeling that everyone has that one clueless friend who interrupts a conversation just to proclaim, 'Hey bro, this conversation is gold. We should seriously start a podcast. You and me. You're so right, bro. The whole world needs to listen to this." End quote. And I genuinely believe that is how this disaster of a podcast was born. Akaash, don't you dare tell me you're the one who built that studio, man. I mean, let's be honest. They need to start administering IQ tests before they're allowed to sell a microphone to someone. And I'm only saying this as a person whose livelihood is online. Like for me personally, I would never in a million years date an influencer or even a girl who holds any aspiration of becoming internet famous. It would just be far too great of a liability for precisely these reasons. And I have absolutely no desire to see someone just sitting at home, doing nothing all day, and simply coasting on my earnings. But hey, that's my personal take on the matter. There's an undeniable and growing sentiment that Rogan's inner circle, and nearly every comedian associated with it, has spectacularly imploded over the course of the last year, and I mean that literally. If you pull up that notorious podcast right now, the comment section is an outright war zone, where Akaash is being publicly dismantled. He's being labeled a sycophant. He's being branded a complete fool. The backlash is relentless. The audience is demanding his removal, saying he's over with, completely washed up. But regardless, I want to express my gratitude to all of you for watching this video. Your likes and subscriptions are deeply appreciated. But as you know, it's your boy, the Brown Superman. And there are a few questionable comedians out there who still need to be put under the microscope. So on that note, I'm out.